people. Good evening. Hope you're all doing amazing. This is your host Kavya Shankar, and welcome back to the second chapter of Polkadot India Substrate Saturday Bootcamp. That's a highly competitive Rust and Substrate training series in the country. It's good to see you all again. Congratulations on picking up this promising technology at such an early stage. And we are with you guys throughout the journey as you are the first batch that is doing this to get placed into some biggest global projects in the Polkadot ecosystem. Please note that we have an exclusive Telegram channel for the attendees and participants of Substrate Saturday. You guys can join in the same. Alongside, we also have a Discord channel too, exclusively for developers. So my colleague Asit will go ahead and share the links in the chat box, and you guys can join these channels and stay connected with us. Those of you who are already a part of it, do shoot all your queries, questions, keep sharing whatever you guys are working on, and let's learn and grow together. We'll also go ahead and share a Menti link with you guys where you can shoot all your queries. You can also drop in your questions in the chat box and mentors will be taking them. Now, Substrate is built on Rust programming language, which makes use of novel design patterns to enable development of code that is safe and fast. Although you don't need to know Rust to get started with Substrate, a good understanding of Rust will allow you to become a better Substrate developer for sure. So today's session will all be about Substrate and also some hands-on coding. So without any further ado, I'll go ahead and pass on the spotlight to Tejas and Lokesh, who are your mentors, and let's get this session started. Also, please feel free to come on video and let's keep this interactive. Yeah, over to you guys, Tejas and Lokesh.
Yes, thank you, Kavya. Yeah. So, hey all, I hope you have compiled the Substrate node like I requested of you on WhatsApp group. So, what I'll be doing today is that I'll be diving into Substrate a bit. Taking you through all the details of how the structure of Substrate node template is, and telling you about how you can import local palettes and the remote palettes into your project, and starting a node with those configurations. So I want you all to code with me. So yes. Okay. I think Fahad has done that already, but I'm not sure. But okay. I'll share my screen. So before we begin, has everyone compiled your Substrate node? You can type in the chat, guys.
We have one, yes.
Right. No one else? All right.
Okay, we have 3 yes, 4 yes. There are 54 guys on the call. So if we remove our guys, around 50.
Fail to select version for requirement lib P2P. I think upgrade your Rust version to 1.62. That'll help.
What's the name?
Yes, there is a link to Substrate playground as well.
No, so lib2p. So Manoj, what OS are you using? You'll have to install those stuff. Yeah. So in case, okay, Manoj, in case you're not able to do it after that also, probably, okay, if you're doing Ubuntu, there are specific things that you need to install for Substrate. I'll just share the link. That would be easier for you guys.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can proceed. So I want you all to code with me, guys. So I'll be creating a new palette and taking you through what are the important aspects of a palette, and maybe creating a small functionality and adding that to runtime and compiling. So yeah. And also I'll be taking you through the Polkadot.js Explorer and telling you how you can test your functionalities or extrinsics that you will be creating in your palette. So okay, so basically I have cloned my Substrate template. So if someone has not done that, you can go to this GitHub link. Just paste this in chat. Yeah, just clone this repo and just do cargo build release. So you'll have your own node template ready. All right. So I've already done that, saving a few minutes. So once you do that, you'll get something like a target directory. So in this target, you have your Substrate node template ready to be launched. Okay. Now the main thing. Okay, so the first thing that you should know is to identify aspects of the Substrate node template and what are the main things that you need to look into before you even try to run or try to run your node template. So the main things are the node, palettes, and the runtime. So I'll be coding or I'll be creating a new palette or a local palette within this self. I'll be let's say copy pasting this template, but I'll be creating all the functionalities in lib.rs from scratch. And you guys also have to code with me so that you have a good understanding of what is what, right? So I'll take you through lib.rs of palette template. So in palettes folder, you have you can have multiple number of folders which are actually the palettes. So here the palette template is your palette for in the templates in the palettes folder. So I'll take you through the template directory or the template lib.rs. So as you can see, this is your configuration attribute. This is just saying that don't use the standard library, use the no std library instead of the standard library. That's all it's saying. So CFG ATTR means configuration atom. So the main things that you have to look into is your config, is the other thing is your storage, your event, your error, and your call. So these are the main 5 things that you have to look into a palette. And this is the common template that you share across all palettes. All right. So basically the configuration means, as you can see, it is a trait. So config trait is basically applied on your runtime, and you're basically making your runtime recognize your palette. So that's what this config trait is. And all the configurations that you'll be integrating will be inside this trait. All right. And as you can see, this is how we do it. It's like type event, and type event has some type, right? Which is the from type, and you have the is type trait, right? The other thing is your storage. So basically there are mainly 2 types of storages. One is your storage value, and one is your storage map. So storage map is like your hash map where you're storing key value pairs. So key can be anything, let's say U128, and your value can be a structure. All right. So the next thing are your events. So basically events are something which show you the result. For example, if I have dispatched, or if I have run an extrinsic, if I have run a function through my palette, this helps me in telling what has happened. Okay. For example, if let's say if I've created a functionality for changing my name, so event will tell me that my name has changed or something like that. It's like a notification basically. And all those are enums, as you can see. The other thing is error. So errors are basically something that you will define or predefine and you can include those errors in your extrinsics. All right. The main thing, or one of the main things, is your call or all the extrinsics that you have. So this is where you will be defining all your extrinsics. Extrinsics are basically functions and nothing more than that. So this is how you'll interact with your node through extrinsics. So all that you see, like errors, events, and storages, you will be using all of these in your extrinsics. So the main center point of anything are your extrinsics. All right. So what we can do here is we can paste. So guys, I want you all to code with me. So
And also there I have a question here. Now every time you explain error, event in palette, there is something called as those attribute macros where hash, palette call, palette error, palette event, palette getter, palette storage, all these stuff are there, right? Can you tell me what that is, or like what is it for?
palette event, are you talking about this?
Yeah, but there are
Yeah.
so many attribute macros for everything
Right.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically this is for so this is basically placed on top of your structures. So this is how Substrate understands that you want to use those as events, right? Or errors or extrinsics. For example,
Mhm.
if I don't put palette call here, it won't identify my functions as extrinsics. I have to make this palette call or explicitly mention palette call on top of my implementation for Substrate to understand, okay, that these are actually extrinsics that I want to make use of to interact with the node. So that's how, or that's why you place palette call or palette error, or otherwise if you don't place this, it's just a normal enumeration. Correct?
Correct. Thank
Right.
you. And also, what is palette weight?
Sorry, can you repeat, Lokesh?
Yeah, sorry. No, there is something called as palette weight in terms in every extrinsic, right? So
Right.
what are those?
So palette weights are basically deciding how much your functionality would weigh on the chain. So 10,000 means that this is going to take this much time and this much gas fee, or not gas fee exactly, this much time or this much memory for this function to process. For example, do something will take 10,000 picoseconds on the chain for processing. So 1 picosecond is equal to sorry, 1 second is equal to 10 raised to 12 picoseconds. So that is 10 raised to minus 12 picoseconds, right? Sorry, 10 raised to minus 12 seconds. So yeah. Anything else?
Okay. Probably like for if you see the weight in line number 67 and 84 are different. One has writes, one more has reads writes. What probably could be the difference?
All right. So basically, writes means you're giving writing capability for your extrinsics to write to the chain state, right?
Yeah.
So chain state means the you can imagine it as a database on your chain where you will be storing your values or key value pairs, whatever it is. For example, you have created a storage here, right? So that is your data storage part. Where is this? Yeah, you've created a storage here called something, and this will contribute to your chain state, right? So something storage will be created on your chain state, so you can access this something within your extrinsic to write to something or to read from something, right? So as you can see, you are updating your storage called using the put functionality. So put basically means a functionality from your storage value, right? So something is your storage and your putting or your writing to something with this particular value. So that's why, so basically it just adds to your weight.
So we are charging for every read and every write.
Right.
Okay, sure.
So basically it's an addition to your weight that you have mentioned. And 10,000 is just a number. You can you can have 10, 100,000 or maybe 10. It's based on you.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think okay, let's rename this. Say palette. My own. This will be fine. All right.
So, Skandesh has asked an interesting question. What happens if the function exceeds 10,000 picoseconds, right? So, Skandesh, so every extrinsic, so how do you identify that a function that you've written as an extrinsic? It'll have the palette wait at macro, and it'll have the palette, it'll be inside the palette call implementation. That's the first thing. Second, your transaction weight that you see, even though you say it's 10,000, it will depend on the time complexity of your function. The longer your function runs, the more the fees you'll run, right? You'll end up paying. So which is why, like on blockchain, uh, things like writing excessive for loops is not good code. Writing recursion is completely banned on blockchain. You can't write recursive functions. You should use a different approach to solve problems that, like storage or data structure problems that you have on this chain. Because the longer the function executes, equally you'll pay the transaction fees. So it's a direct relation. So yeah.
So you can think that 10,000 is a placeholder, is the extreme limit or of how much your function can take, right? So it's not necessary that it will take exactly 10,000. It can take 5,000 also, but based on your functionality, like you said, it can exceed as well, right? So it can take lesser also. So 10,000 is your like base limit to how much your function can exceed. So yeah, is everybody ready? Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
Hmm.
am I audible?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so we are discussing Rust. Now we are discussing Substrate. High level understanding we have, but in a block diagram or somewhere, can you show like how it is related? Then Rust, then Substrate, then Polkadot, and how they are connected, and then some kind of a storage you talked. So how the storage, like it is MySQL or Oracle something, or how it is connected. So just block diagram I wanted, if possible.
Okay. I think I should run this first.
Okay.
And show you on the Explorer as well.
So Substrate, is it a framework or it is a language or?
So Substrate has its own storage.
No, so one second. Substrate is a framework, Gunjan.
Okay.
Yeah, this you can continue.
Yeah. So basically, when you're creating the Substrate node, it has its own storage. Why? Because I have mentioned the storage here. Correct. If you don't mention any storage, it won't have any storage. So that's the flexibility that you get, based on what your requirements are when you want to build a blockchain. So yeah.
So can
I'll show
we
you.
think that this is the blockchain you are doing?
Yes.
You are building a blockchain.
Yes. So I have already built it. As you can see, finished release, and this is in release mode. So release mode means it adds additional optimizations to your build. So that's just what release means. And in debug, you don't have those optimizations. So when you do a cargo build release, it takes more time for it to build. All right. And here I'm going to start the node. Temp means that it's not going to have a permanent storage. For example, since I've created a something storage here, it won't when I exit the node, that storage will also be removed from the it won't store it in cache. That's what it basically means. And hyphen dev means that it's running in a development environment. All right, so my node is on. Now if you all go to polka.js/apps. So this is the link that you have to go to after you run your node. So as you can see, this is basically the Explorer page of your Polkadot JS application. And as you can see, it takes around 6 seconds for your blocks to be produced. And the events that I was talking about will be shown here when I include an event in my extrinsic. So yes.
There's a small question we just wanted to, I want to clarify. Guys, gas fee is the term used for Ethereum-based blockchain, while with gas fee is basically called transaction fees in any other normal chain. So, like using gas fee in Polkadot is a wrong terminology to begin with. Second, Fazil is asking, is it the higher the amount, the higher the gas fee will be? Anyhow, we are having a single transaction of 1 ETH or 100 ETH. How does it matter? Fazil, I didn't really get your question, but to answer to people who've been confused here, so basically the gist of it is every single extrinsic that you call, you will pay transaction fees based on the function execution time and also the number of reads and writes to the storage. Okay. Yeah, reading. So see, in other chains like Solana, reading change from reading data from the change is not exactly extrinsic. That is called an RPC, or just an API thing, remote procedural calls. What are RPCs? RPCs are kind of a framework where you can just read some data. That is free. Dhruv, that is correct, right? But here we are talking about extrinsics. What are extrinsics? Extrinsics are transactions. You're going to make a update to the ledger. So extrinsics are those that, like for example, you're really going to buy an NFT. Buying an NFT is an act of an extrinsic, right? But if I want to read who that NFT belongs to, that I can put it under a RPC call. So that is that you're not paying fees, you're just reading stuff. But in an extrinsic also, if you are going to read some storage or write into a storage, your transaction fees will be calculated based on the number of reads and number of writes to the blockchain storage. Dhruv, Fazil, all of you guys who've been asking question, Param, Fahid, is that clear? Okay. Yeah, yeah, we can proceed.
All right. So is there any confusion regarding the palette? Like, do you all want to know anything else?
Yeah, you guys can come on audio, like, and just ask your questions away. I think Fahad is raising hand. Kavya, can we just
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Just one thing around the palette. Can you just, I got disconnected, my bad. So can you just explain briefly what the call palette was?
Okay, so you mean the palette call macro, right? Or attribute, right? So basically, palette call is, telling Substrate that this is where I'll be adding my extrinsics or my functions, which I can use to interact with the node. So if I remove this, so let's say if it's not there, this is just a basic implementation. So my Substrate node won't be able to understand whether do something or whether cause error are actually functionalities that I want to use to interact with the node. So that's what palette call does. So palette call basically gives you the gives the implementation of functionality where it basically makes your do something or your cause error actual extrinsics rather than simple functions. So that's what it does. It's basically giving additional functionality. You can imagine in that way.
Okay, thanks. And you're opening the Polkadot Explorer, but you've started the node on your local machine. So I'm just thinking, is it going to be visible on the Polkadot Explorer?
Yes,
although
yes. Ideally it should be.
So interesting question. Good question.
Have you run the node?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. But there is, yeah, probably you can show them how it's connected to Polkadot Explorer.
Yes. So so there are two functions here, right? Do something and cause error. So these two functions or functionalities should be shown on the Polkadot JS Explorer. How? I'll go to, so this is your navigation bar. I'll go to the developer tab and you can see something called extrinsics. I hope everybody is following. So you can click on the extrinsic tab. All right, we'll select Alice as the account. You have like predefined accounts or developer accounts, as you can see. There are in total 8 accounts. These are my injected accounts. You don't have to worry about that. So I'll choose Alice and I'll choose template module. So as you can see, there are 2 functions called do something and causer. So
Tej, can we also show them the connection part? How you connect your local chain to the Explorer? The development URL, entering the WebSocket URL.
where is that?
I believe that's for. No, it's in not here. It's in Explorer. No, left development. Click on development. Development. No, connecting to Polkadot and our other chains and stuff.
Yeah, where is it?
No,
okay, got it. Sorry,
so
sorry.
yeah, Fahd, this is the way. So how does a blockchain node communicate with the extrinsic, external client is using framework. I mean, the technology used is WebSockets. So you can see your custom endpoint here. So you need to input your custom endpoint. It starts not with a HTTP, but it starts with a WS. WS stands for a WebSocket. And on port 9944 is where your chain is extrinsically, like externally available for clients to connect to. So, and it's a one-to-many connection. So a WebSocket has one-to-many where you can have multiple people can be connected to a single WebSocket and listen to the data, right? So that is the technology behind the integration of the backend node to the main any external client. And yeah, Dhruv, you can build a chain using Substrate and not connect to Polkadot, and that will be your own blockchain. Like for example, yeah, so these are Polkadot and parachains. You see each of these other projects that you see, they have connected themselves with the Polkadot thing. But if you see the live networks, you see Automata and all those things. So those are all chains that are independently working on their own, and they do have an option to connect to the Polkadot chain, which then they become a parachain. And to connect to a Polkadot chain, you have options. You have to buy a slot, and the slot is rented out on lease basis. So like for these many years, your app can be connected to Polkadot's chain. So yeah,
Yes.
Fahd and Dhruv, that fine?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it's pretty clear now.
Yeah, I have two
Fuzzy?
follow-up questions.
Yeah.
So first thing, if we start our node, how does it connect through the WebSocket? You are saying
Yeah,
it is
that's all.
connected.
So you see on development, just open that. You can see custom endpoint. You can see the local node. So locally, whenever you're starting it on your system, it runs on 127.0.1, which in turn stands for your local host, right? And the port number is 9944. This is the port where your chain starts. This, can we start the chain again and show them all the ports
No,
that are being
I'm
used?
okay with this. This I understand. My question is regarding more general situation where peer-to-peer communication happens and all. So suppose one node has come up. Now, how is it communicating to other nodes without this Polka.js.org being in the picture?
You need to just give the endpoint of the first node, and you also need to give the chain spec file, like custom spec file of that chain. So Gunjan, that's a good question. So you have something like, how are peers connected to a node? That is your question, right?
Node, no. So
How?
here, polka.js.org,
Yeah,
this app
yeah,
is loaded in your browser and it is connected to the local system through the WebSocket.
yeah.
Okay. My question is, this has to be decentralized. So if one node you set it up, okay, and
Yeah,
one node I set up,
yeah.
how your node and my node is connected to each other without polka.js.org coming in the picture, being a centralized system.
So like I said, it's a one-to-many connection. It's a good question. So what you're actually asking is, how do I become a participant to the blockchain? So there is a tutorial for that. Basically, it's kind of the similar process where you will be providing the chain ID. every chain will have its ID. You will give the chain ID. There's a custom spec file that you need to share with your peers who want to connect with you. Now, for example, me and Tejas have started a blockchain. I mean, like I started blockchain. Tejas wants to connect with me, and you also want to connect with me, right? So when I start my chain on my system, I will have a chain ID. I will have a custom spec file that will be generated. Now I want to accept peers because say now Tejas is the block finalizer, right? And what happens is I will share my custom spec file with Tejas, the ports, the chain ID, and everything, and then he will add it into his custom spec JSON file, which will then build his chain and connect to the node that I am working on. It will be the similar process for you. So, in only difference is now Tejas being the block finalizer, I will keep his ID, network ID, as a validator. While you, if you're a regular participant, I will keep you as a normal chain nominator.
Okay.
This is the process to brief it up for you, but there is a link dedicated how peers get connected to a blockchain.
So the first thing that JSON file with all the configuration details is shared to the other peer via something, and then there is no need of the intermediary.
No, there's no need of intermediary.
No,
because your nodes detail how my node would come to know.
I will share it with you, right? I will share it with you.
Once all these details are be connected, but yeah.
So even for example, even for Polkadot, if you want to connect your parachain to Polkadot has publicly exposed their chain ID, the custom spec file, and everything. You can connect to them. But connection to Polkadot is not so simple. Like I said, you have to win an auction. Once you win an auction, once you win a slot on Polkadot's chain, we call it the relay chain, right? On Polkadot has the main chain is called the relay chain. Once you get a slot on the relay chain and then you input your things, it's valid, then they'll accept your connection.
Is that something centralized system doing the auction?
It's not centralized, it's a decentralized code. So you have something called as governance palette, where an auction is proposed by the guy who wants to get the slot, and there'll be a network of validators, each of them running their own blockchain node for Polkadot on their system. It's not centralized, it's decentralized, and they will cast their vote. So if there are 8 people in the governance, right now there are 8 people. So if all the 8 people approve of you coming in as a parachain, then yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And in front end, you have not connected to any wallet like MetaMask or something?
So good question. So Tej, you can show them the wallet. It's already connected. Yeah, but we haven't
so basically, you don't use MetaMask on Polkadot. So there is something called as Polkadot wallet. So as you can see, I have an account created on the Polkadot wallet. And if I go to accounts, you can see my account as TJ Stash here. And the basic difference between the developer accounts and your own account is that you can see injected here, right? So these are injected types from a wallet. So first I'll have to include my wallet into the Polkadot JS Explorer. So that's how you integrate your wallet on any chain based on Polkadot or Substrate.
Okay, I didn't see you connecting to this. That's why I got that out. So was it connected already before?
Yes, it was connected already.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure. So this one is clear, right? How you're connecting your local. Okay. So there is one more difference. As you can see, there is only WS here. So this is not secure. So the secured ones are called WSS. So it's like HTTP and HTTPS, right? So the custom endpoints that are hosted, they are WSS, but since it's on my local, it's WS. Cool. All right. All right. So I think we can. Shall I? So what we'll be going to do is that we'll create our own custom extrinsic, create our errors, create our events, and we'll be adding it to runtime. I'll show you runtime after we do that. And then we can see our own custom palette on the Polkadot JS Explorer. All right, I want you all to code with, I think let's not remove everything. let's something stored. All right. What should we create? Okay, so what we can do is we can, let's say, make something very simple just to, give you an idea of how it is. So we can, I think, let's say, add two numbers. That will be really easy. So I want you all to do this with me. So add. Is everybody coding with me? I need to know. You all can unmute and you all can.
So yeah, we have a couple of guys who are coding. One is I am MU, and Dhruv was coding, Jyotish, Mahadev. Yeah, there are Rahul. Yeah, there are like about 4 guys who are doing. Guys, about the others who are not able to code along, I mean, you can also use a Substrate playground to try to code along in case. Yeah.
All right. So,
and piece of advice: even if you're coding along with us, do not compile your code. It'll hang your system. So you can compile the code after the session, but just get the hang of the code.
All right. So when I want to write a new extrinsic to my palette, this is where I'll be doing under palette call. Right. So add two numbers. The first thing that I have to do is that I have to mention the origin. See, so this origin is something that we are selecting on the Polkadot JS Explorer called Alice. So if I go to extrinsic, right? So this is your origin. When I select Alice, this becomes my origin, and this is a must when you're creating your extrinsic. All right. Origin 4, it's taking generic type, and let's say first number 32, second. All right. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is ensure that this origin is present on the chain, right? So let's say let signer equals ensure signed. It's not a macro, right? All right. Is everyone following? Loki, you can just tell me, like, in the chat.
No one's replied yet, but I think people are coding. So yeah, we can continue.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So
okay, there are replies. Yeah, they are full.
Right. So as you can see that I've mentioned dispatch result here as well, and this is a must. So if you haven't mentioned this, it will throw an error. So this is Substrate's way of telling that you are returning a result. All right. So I'll just mention it here.
So Skandesh, I think that answers your question, right? Does it return a result? Yes, all functions return a type result. If you see the return type, it's dispatch result. On Substrate, everything is a little bit, just the terminology is used different because it's on no STD format, and in Rust everything is in STD format, where is a result type and everything. Dispatch result is the same thing. You have 2 types of returns. One is called dispatch result, and one was dispatch result with post info. Post info, which means it will include some of your block data into your result that you'll be returning, right? So that is what it is. But every extrinsic, it's a must rule that it has to return a dispatch type result or a dispatch result with post info. You cannot have anything else to be returned. That is another rule. And Fahad, what's ensure signed? Tejas, you want to take that?
Yeah. So ensure signed is basically saying that it is a person belonging on the chain, or let's say Alice is present on the chain, right? So no outer entity can sign this extrinsic. So somebody on the chain has to, or has the privilege to do that. So that's the main, that's the basic difference for ensure sign. If it's not the case, then it will throw an error and return.
What does being on a chain means? Like, do I have to have an account on chain? I mean, what does that mean?
Yes, you have to be on the chain for signing this extrinsic. If you're not on the chain, if you're not present on the chain, then you won't be able to sign this extrinsic. So if you see this question mark operator, right? So if you're not the origin, if let's say if instead of Alice, some random other person signs this who is not present on the chain, this will return with an error saying that, bad origin or something like that. So that's what this function is basically doing. It's ensuring that the signer is present on the chain. Yeah, does that clear?
Yeah, I believe they've understood. Yeah, we can proceed.
Okay. Now I think.
Sorry, I was just speaking, but my mic was mute. Okay, sorry. So being on chain means, do I have to have some kind of profile there or transaction there to say I am on the chain, or?
Right. So that's why you create wallets, right? So sorry, accounts. So you have first you have to inject your account in the or on the chain before making any kind of transactions. So like Alice is a developer account. So since we are running on the local node, we don't have to worry about who is signing. But when your, let's say when your chain is live and live and let's say connected to the Polkadot network, you have to have a wallet with some kind of currency in it for making certain transactions. And that currency basically will correlate to your pallet weight also. Let's say 10,000 picoseconds is equivalent to 0.001 dots or something. So you can take it in that way.
So it is just checking, am I connected to the chain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you a valid account ID? You know, on Web3,
Valid
everything works on account ID, right? It's just a validation step. Are you a guy who is connected to this network of Polkadot chain, like this parachain or this Polkadot chain or any custom chain or any blockchain that is running, right? Like even on MetaMask, you have Rust test network, then you have the mainnet and everything, right? So every time you want to switch your account ID to that network, you switch your network onto a MetaMask wallet, right? Similarly, here, like you have to make sure that your account ID that you created on Polkadot.js wallet is connected to this current chain that you are attempting to talk to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing is I want to add these two numbers. Okay. But before that, I want to ensure that my numbers are not negative. Okay. So I just want to add two positive numbers. I don't want to add negative numbers. So
this is a small typo in line 69. For first number, the spelling is just F. If I asked. Dhruv, good thing. Yeah, exactly. So good point. So Dhruv says the parameters are already unsigned. How can they be negative? That is exactly the thing. So you cannot even attempt to write a negative number.
Right.
In this case. Yeah.
Nice one. Nice one.
Yeah.
It has to, if it's less than, I think I'll make that change.
Yeah, ensure is similar to assert, but assert is for testing, and here ensure does something like it throws a panic. But the thing is, in panics in a blockchain can't occur, right? Because it will stop the entire chain. So ensure will throw a type of result error, dispatch result error. So that is the difference. That's it.
All right.
Clear.
Now, as you can see, I have, like Lokesh said, ensure will panic your program. But instead of this string, I want to add the errors. Hello?
No. Sorry. Yeah, you please continue.
All right. So this is another way you can do that. You can add a string and check whether your numbers are less than 0. But better than this, I want to add the errors that are already a part of my palette. So like, as you can see in the error enum, I have already mentioned that number cannot be negative, right? So you can even make use of one error for multiple cases like I'm doing here, right? Because first number and second number are related to each other or kind of the same. You can use the same error for this as well. So error T number cannot be negative. All right. Is everybody following or is everybody doing? I'll wait for like 1 minute. No issues. So the next thing after this is that I want to raise an event that, you know, the numbers have been added and you know, at least notify me how that process has taken place. So for that, I'll add another event. Yes, the number has been added. This is an I32. Let this be a, I think this has been I32. Okay, so I have created another event under the enum event or a variant basically. So my variant's name is yes, the number has been added. You can have anything else if you want. So and it also takes in type of I32. So this is basically my result, the addition of both the numbers, right? So but I have to call this you know, event in my extrinsics for this event to be triggered, right? So I think the was self dot deposit event. So basically, this is how you call your events. There's a function called deposit event, as you can see here. So this is like a helper function for your for calling your variants of your events. Yes, the number has been added. Addition. Right. Good. All right. Can I proceed?
Yeah.
Good. So I think okay, can you all tell me what am I missing here? You can unmute your mic center. Hello.
I don't see you returning anything from function.
Returning anything from the function. All right. I actually am returning something since this is dispatch result. Hmm.
Okay.
So it's the okay variant. But
So basically, sorry, basically, dispatch result is result type. That's why you're returning OK.
right.
Yes. Okay.
So you can imagine it like this. I don't want the result of this function. Basically, this function has to tell me or fulfill certain kind of functionality rather than returning something. So you can think of it in that way. So mostly what we do is that we create some, we give some return value, let's say an I32 or a string or a vector, whatever it is, and we create that vector inside the function and we return, right? But ideally, or in this extrinsics, what we do is that you're trying to fulfill, let's say, a storage update or maybe some kind of functionality that you want to add inside your extrinsic and maybe update that in your storage. So these kind of stuff, you're not exactly kind of returning anything. So it's just like a it's something that you have to do. That's how the template has been made. All right. So yeah, am I missing something here? Can you guys unmute and tell me? Nobody? All right. Like I said,
What if it is error?
it is error.
Error, yeah.
Which error?
We have written okay, right? So there is some another thing error. So what if the addition fails, something like that?
What if the addition fails?
Yeah, something.
No, I
Of
didn't
course,
get you.
if first number is negative, then it will return from there itself, right?
Right.
Okay.
If this is negative, it will return from this.
Then event will not be raised, right?
No,
Yes, then
nothing will be raised.
okay. So what will be the notification? I mean,
Notification will be the error. Number cannot be negative.
okay.
Or what I can do is to make it even precise, I can just do second number cannot be negative and first number cannot be negative. Now you'll precisely know which number was negative. Right. All right.
So are you, is that the whole function? Is this like the whole function you want to, the whole functionality you want to implement?
Sorry, could you come again?
Sorry, I said this function add two numbers, right? Is this all the logic for this function?
Yeah. Yes. So this is just a
Okay.
basic logic for you all to understand. You can add anything in here you want. Whatever logic you want to include.
I just want to like really so I'm just sure that I actually do understand this. So basically, this it checks if the origin, that's if it's one of the accounts.
Yeah.
That's for the function parameters. Then also the inputs, that's the first number and second number, both signed integers. Then it returns a result type. So let's sign because ensures that means it ensures that it's actually from an account, right?
Yeah.
Is that what that?
Yeah, it
means?
ensures
Okay.
that the account is connected to this chain,
Okay,
which means it is present on this chain.
Okay, it's present on the chain. Then the ensures the first number and second number. Basically, if it's negative, it returns an error. First number cannot be negative, second number cannot be negative. Then it adds both numbers. Then it's so this self deposits event. It's like okay, that's the event it returns if first number and second number were added.
Yes.
Then it returns the results being okay, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Thank
the
you.
result, the return type for this function, there is nothing you're returning as a value. If you see, it's returning a unit for in your OK. So you're just returning a unit in OK. But however, you're still in line 78, you're returning an event which notifies in the Explorer or an event listener that you'll implement, saying that this was done on the blockchain.
All right.
Yeah, I think Jibril is fine.
Yes, I'm okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. But there is one thing, guys, which you are missing. Okay, so basically every functionality or every extensive.
Wait. Let's get them to
All
answer
right.
this. Guys, you guys need to answer this.
There
There
is
were
a-
conditions.
yeah.
There were conditions I had told
What's the
you that
question?
for a function to be an extrinsic, it needs to have these things. If not, it won't. Can anybody come up and tell us what we are missing for the function add two numbers to be called as an extrinsic?
I think maybe the return type will be an event. Event
No,
type.
event is being thrown elsewhere. Otherwise, also the return type is an OK, line number 80. OK and a unit. So whenever you see just brackets, it's called a unit in Rust.
Is it the
Okay.
attribute macro? Like we have to specify if it is used for writing, reading, or both or something.
You're clear, but what is the name of the attribute macro that we used to use when we're supposed to use?
I mean, it's like it starts with palette. It comes on palette. I don't know what it is.
Palette, and which feature of attribute macro do you have to use?
And we can use the same thing, the weight one only.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're missing the weight. So yeah, guys, Rihan, Dhruv, yeah, all you guys are correct. Chandra, yeah, we're just missing the weight mark. Yeah.
But since now I'm not using any DB, let's remove this. This will be fine, right? So here I'm not using any storage. So I don't want to read or write anything. I'm just raising an event, right? So right. Okay. So the name of my palette is palette my own. So this will still throw an error. Why? Because I have to change the name of my palette in my newly formed cargo.toml. If you see here in palettes my own, I have to change this to, let's say, palette my own. Okay. So this is the name that I'll be using to integrate that into my runtime. So I've created a palette, but this palette is of no use if I don't include it in my runtime, and if the WASM environment is not created without these configurations. Okay, so the next thing that you have to do is go to cargo.toml of your newly created or of your copied template. Then go to cargo.toml and change the name of your package, which is to whatever you've named your palette my own. All right. Okay. So I think I'll remove this. Dispatch. All right. After I do this, I'll be using the storage for storing this value. So don't worry about the storage part. I hope everybody has changed the name in cargo.toml. Now this is the main thing that you have to do. Since this is your local palette, you have to locally add it to your runtime. So I'll close the palettes folder. I'll go to the runtime folder and in cargo.toml. So you can see this is your cargo.toml of your runtime. And I'll just tell you about how this is structured. So basically there are dependencies and there are dev dependencies. Where are those? I think I've seen somewhere. Okay. I think dev dependencies are not there. But so basically, when you see dev dependencies, they are just used for development. So these are the dependencies that are actually needed for you to run this entire runtime. And as you can see, under local dependencies, I'll just add my own palette. All right.
So Nicholas has a question. So Nicholas is asking, so it controls the maximum cost allows to your function. So Nicholas, the thing is, you can definitely give a weight, any weight you want to give for your extrinsic. But so before your chain even goes on to the production level, there's something called as benchmarking and testing. Like in previous Ivan session, if you had seen, I had asked the question, right? So there will be benchmarks done for almost 200 times for every single extrinsic. And even though you have mentioned a lesser weight or a greater weight or whatever it is, you will be charged based on the execution of the function as well. So if you mention lesser and but your function takes like 5 reads and 5 writes, which is very expensive to be honest, you will be charged that extra amount as well. So that is the thing. And Nicholas, thanks for pointing it out. Yes, these patterns, I understand that you're able to figure it out. So yeah, they are using a publisher and subscriber pattern, and also Rust in general code bases are encourage everybody to use builder, factory, and adapter patterns. So any Rust project that you see, not just Substrate, Rocket, Actex, or any normal stuff that you do, you will be using these patterns. We are not covering design patterns in detail, like I mentioned in the first thing, because it's out of scope. And for those who are beginners, it really, like, it's not something that you have to pick up immediately. But once you have good handling in the code, design patterns is definitely a subject that you should take on your own and challenge yourself to build applications of those sorts. So yeah, thank you, Nicholas, for bringing that up. Yeah, Atish, we can continue.
All right. So now, two things that you have to do. In your cargo terminal of your runtime, you have to add your local dependency as this. So you'll be giving your relative path in path, since it's currently in your own folder, and you have to add it under the standard features array, like palette my own /std. All right. So these are the two things that you have to do in cargo.toml of your runtime. Now I'll give you basically a difference between these imports. So there are like 3 kinds of imports. One is your local imports that you give with your relative paths. One is an import from crates.io, and the other is an import from GitHub. All right. So as you can see, if I go to dependencies, under dependencies, if I go to codec, and let's say I'm just viewing the configuration for this codec, I come to know that this is being pulled from crates.io. All right. Why? Because I'm not seeing any Git link in this. As compared to palettes.aura, I can see a Git link from Substrate, right? So this package or this palette is being pulled from GitHub's Substrate repo, right? And the branch is also mentioned here, which is 0.9.26. This is the latest Polkadot version of, this is the latest Substrate node version, right? So these are the basic differences that you need to understand when you're working with cargo.toml. So at the moment, since we have created only local, so I'm giving my relative path here, and I've added the palette my own std to standard features. So this is just basically telling that, if I have any standard features for my palette, my own, add that also. All right. So okay. Yeah. All right. So after going to after finishing your cargo.toml, you have to add that in the lib.rs of your runtime folder, or palette my own to lib.rs of runtime folder. All right, I'll do same thing here. Okay, so as you can see, I'm implementing palette template. Let's talk about palette template now. Here I'm implementing palette templates config, which is a trait for runtime. Correct. If I compare this with the configuration here, this is my, sorry. Yeah. So this is my config trait, and this is my type event. All right. So in runtime, I'll be initializing this. So similarly, I'll be doing the same thing for palette my own. Okay. One more thing, that you'll have to include this in your runtime, like so. Use palette my own. All right. After placing this function, let's say at the top of your runtime lib.rs, I'll be implementing the config of palette my own for runtime. So why I am doing this? Because I want to make my runtime familiar with the configurations of my own palette. But still, it hasn't been added to runtime. Runtime just knows that there is a palette that I have created, and it just knows about the configuration and stuff, but it still hasn't added it to runtime. Okay. Now, the most important macro in the lib.rs file is the construct runtime. As you can see, as its name suggests, it basically creates all, or it combines all the palettes and creates your wasm binary for your runtime. So this is what it does. So let's say I can give any name literally, but my own palette, my own. All right. Now I have added my custom palette to the runtime. Is everybody following? I will stop for some time, because these things can get a bit confusing, since you
So
have
whenever,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
whenever we run, start the blockchain, so this block will be executed first, is it?
This block as in?
Construct runtime, this thing.
Yes. So basically, this is what is packaging your runtime. So all of these palettes that you see are present in the cargo toml of my runtime. Okay, and I'm choosing which palettes I want to use for my runtime, of which my own is one of them, which I created right now.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Now let's.
This Bro is asking, can you scroll to the top where you imported palette my own?
Yes. Use
Then.
palette my own. So after your cargo toml part, you have to do this. You have to bring it in scope. You it won't know, your file or your lib.rs won't know what you want to import. So you have to bring your palette my own into scope in the file for it to, make it or be available for usage. So that's how you bring this into scope. As you can see, SP version, as you can see, SP STD, all of these are in scope where I can use, from which I can use all the functionalities. So is this okay?
Yeah, he says yes.
All right. Okay. I hope everybody has completed or integrated their own palette inside runtime. Let's see. Okay. I think we are good. Let's hope for no errors. Okay. Now, after configuring everything, you have to build your node, right? So that you get a new binary for your runtime. All right. So
sorry, if I may ask,
Yeah.
sorry, if I may ask, if when you build the node, is it built as native runtime or wasn't block?
Right now it will be your native, like your own blockchain. You're not connected to anything.
Because I was going through the documentation and it said that the runtime.
Yeah.
What did you say?
The runtime was?
I said I was going through the documentation and it said that the runtime can either be native or WASM environment, I guess. So I was saying this one that we're trying to build now, which would it be? Is it by what is the runtime by default? Basically, that's what I'm asking.
So runtime, so
compile
see,
the-
the documentation that you read points to what sort of an output it is. So basically in Rust Substrate, it is kind of native, which means it is, so WASM is to run on the web browser, that is WebAssembly code. So that you can compile your code into WASM as well. You have a binary, and otherwise to run it on your personal system, you have execution based on your OS. Now Linux and Mac generates a binary which is executable. That is how on Linux it is. And when it comes to Windows, you get a .exe file generated, and that's how you start your runtime. And can you just go to node folder and go to the cargo.terminal. So yeah, just scroll on to the topmost where we mentioned the binary. So Jibril and Nicholas, to answer both of your questions, can you see line 16 and 17? We are specifying the output type is of type binary, and binary, which means an executable file, and the name of that binary is node template. If I happen to change the name here, then that will change the name of the binary that also is doing. And if you see in line number 11, the build, how do you build your code is on pointing to build.rs file. This can just open build.rs file in your, yeah. So if you see here, so build.rs has a main function, right? It has a main function that generates the cargo keys and rerun if the git head changes. But basically what it does, it builds your entire node. This is the main thing of your build.rs. And WASM is a format for your code to run on the web browsers, which is much faster than regular stuff. So yeah, Jibril, you clear with that, Jibril, Nicholas?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I have an error. This is interesting. So it says not found in the scope. All right. So this is the enum that I set for the event. Can anybody tell me what this error is?
So IMMU has already told the solution. Yeah. So he says I used event and then the fish symbol to get it done. Turbo fish, yeah.
Like this?
Yeah, that's what IMU is saying. Okay. Are we missing anything else? We are definitely missing one thing. Can anybody point it out, or it's fine even if you're not? So basically, yeah, these I think you can give them. So that probably they won't figure it out. So
yeah,
first time we can leave
are
them.
they missing?
So we are missing event and type. Event : type.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I think this will also work like
type
this.
T. Just T. So the one that you see, event : angle brackets T, this is called a turbo fish operator, right? Previously, I had explained to you guys about the fish operator, the regular thing of return. This is called a turbo fish operator, where in turbo fish you specify the type that variant needs to be of, or needs to start off at, or needs to end off at. So yeah. So here T stands to the T config, which means, can you see in line number 67, we have done implement T, which implements the config trait. So config is the trait that we have implemented. So T refers to config here. I hope that is clear for everybody. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I think we can compile.
Okay, let's rebuild. So this is just a warning. This is not an error. Error comes in red. So it's saying that I'm not using signer. Better to prefix it with an underscore. So basically, ensure sign returns something. It returns an account address. Since I'm not using an account address, I'm not using signer, right? So that's not a big of a deal. So this is just like a validation that you are carrying out. if this passes, I get the account address of this origin. Since this, okay, let this build, but I want to show how I can update my storage. Okay. Let's name this something else. I hope you guys are also building. So let's rename this to something else. Addition value maybe. So here I'm creating a new storage called addition value, and this is going to be a storage value which will only store one value, that is, and I'll make this I32, and it is of I32 type. All right.
Tejas, sorry to interrupt. One of them don't have are facing an error. Skandesh, do you want to share your screen and show us what the error is? Where can I see the logs? What sort of logs do you want? And Kunjan, will you please push the code to get? Yeah, Tejas can do that.
Yeah, sure. So what error are you facing, Sandesh?
He isn't responding. Skandesh, to fix your error, probably you have done some import statement wrong, with your path is not correct or something like that. That is the reason you are getting such an error. Yeah, cool. Yeah, Tejas, we can proceed.
All right. So my previous build was successful, as you can see, compiling and finished. All right. But before going there, I'll just write the code, but I'm not saving this. So I've created or changed the name basically of storage that was already present from something to addition value. So I want to insert my addition value into the storage, right? So addition value T, what was the function? Put right addition. All right. So now I am updating my storage with the value that I get after adding first number and second number. All right. But I have to, let's say now I am accessing the DB for reading, or sorry, not reading, writing to the DB, right? So I don't remember that D dot DB wait dot get writes one. All right. D wait writes one then. So get dot get dot writes one. All right. Why I'm doing this? Because now I'm updating my database. So this is just an addition to the weight that already is present for my extrinsic. Cool. But before doing this, I'll show you the node.
Also, Tejas, can we take some time out to explain the starting node? Go back to your terminal and see the chain ID and everything else. Yeah. Yeah.
You want this? Okay.
So when you first start your chain, you will have your chain ID and everything. Why is it not coming? Are you using the temp flag?
Yeah.
Probably because we are using the temp flag or the dev flag. Can we try it without the temp? No, without the temp. Dev will not finalize the block. Just temp and without. Mhm. Okay, but probably the reason why you're not seeing all that is because the code has been already compiled, pre-compiled. So if you
Probably.
do, there is another way of doing it. Tej, I'll find a link to the screenshot and share it. You
Sure.
can explain that. Yeah.
All right. I think I'll do it with the temp flag. I don't want the storage. All right. Now, if I go to Polkadot.js, let's refresh. Do refresh, guys, because sometimes you know, the previous data of your node might be cached. So it's better to always refresh your Polkadot.js Explorer. So since it's already connected to my local node, and as you can see inside the Explorer, 4 blocks have been produced. So if I compare it with this 5th block, right? So this is the node that is running. Now, the next thing that I'm going to show you is the extrinsic that we wrote, right? So go in developer, and under developer, go to extrinsics, right? And then select the default account as Alice. So these are all the palettes or modules that will be, you know, that are integrated in your runtime. So I'll tell you how this or what this relates to in the lib.rs. As you can see, you have balances, grandpa, my own, which is the one we created, sudo system and template module, right? So this, if you compare in lib.rs of runtime, line number, right? So this is your construct runtime. See, all of these palettes are exactly corresponding to what you have here, right? So if I select my own, now I get the functionality for add 2 numbers. This is the first number and the second number, right? So let's say if I give 10, 100, I make a transaction. Right, what happened? This first number cannot be negative. Is it negative?
No, it's not.
This number cannot be negative. What is the issue? First number. ठीक है. I should know it's. Not sure whether it's not taking I-32.
Probably something in the ensure. So Chandra says it's less than 0. It should be greater than 0. No, Chandra, it's similar to an if statement. If the number is less than
Achha,
0,
Lokesh,
only
I
then it's
can't,
negative.
right. I can't actually type a negative number here. So okay, we can modify this function, but no issues. So my JS Explorer is not letting me enter negative numbers. So okay, so you have that kind of you know,
Yeah, we'll have to recompile it for the new
yeah,
changes.
right.
So every
Okay.
time you make a change in your code, you'll have to keep recompiling. And yeah.
So let's do something else. Let's make use of U32 only, and rather than greater than 0, let's make it greater than 50. If it's greater than 50, if it's greater than 50, second number cannot be greater than 50. I know this is a very weird error, but where first number cannot be greater than 50. All right. So why I'm doing this, because Polkadot.js Explorer doesn't let me enter negative numbers. So all right, that's why I have made these changes. Okay, I have to change it here as well. Cannot be greater than 50. Cannot be greater than 50. Okay, So if I enter number greater than 50, this should ensure. I hope this logic is right. Cool. And okay, let's compile this as well, I guess. Let's compile the storage as well. So basically what will happen is after I add these two numbers, the storage will also be updated. And since I have added the storage already here, I'm just calling the storage in my extrinsic for updation. That's all I'm doing. All right. Do you all want to make the changes? Okay, I'll wait for like 1 minute so that you can also follow.
Yeah, and I think Chandra is correct. So ensure macro, the documentation actually is like if the statement is not true, then it will return the error. So if the first number
right.
needs to be like less than 0. So if the number is greater than 0, then it is true. So it will no longer throw the error. So yeah, Chandra, that's good. Good
Right.
point. Yeah.
Nice,
I think
nice
Fahd
catch.
has a question. Fahd, you can just ask us.
I think when you say first number is greater than 50, it means that you ensure that first number is greater than 50. It means when you are actually typing on the text box, it should be greater than 50. Otherwise, it will throw in error.
50. Right. Right. So I think I got confused with true and false here. Right. So it's basically ensuring that it has to be greater than.
Yeah.
Correct. Nice catch. All right. So have you all done the changes here, like adding the storage as well? You all can unmute and just confirm.
Meanwhile, Tejas, we can also show them the input of the terminal screenshot. I'm just sharing you the link. There's a screenshot that you can share.
No,
if you scroll down on this link, there's a screenshot of the terminal on how the network starts. So yeah, guys, yeah, Tejas, you can just run them through this.
all right. So as you can see, so it's just running in the development mode, like like you're seeing, like you pass the development flag, right? And you have your version as 4.0.0 dev. So basically this is your runtime version, and so as you can see, chain specification is development, and database is RocksDB. I think someone said that MySQL, we using MySQL or Mongo, right? So you're using a database called RocksDB.
And also node name is self-generated. So every node will have a name. So if you are a participant, you'll have a node name. And this is how you connect to another node with all these details.
Right.
And if you keep looking at, you'll find even the port numbers and everything. Can you see the step where it is local node identity and there's a hash, right? So Gunjan, this is to your initial question. The way you do this is you add this address, the chain identity, right? Chain ID to your spec file that you need to connect to. And this is the identity that you'll add along with the name and everything. And role, like I said, see if it was Tejas, his role could have been validator, I would have been the authority, and you would have been a nominator. So yeah, these are the different kind of things.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And this DB, that rocks DB, can we connect through other client as well and see what data in it?
No, you can't. On blockchain, you read it on the blockchain. So the data, the storage on blockchain is built internally, like using RocksDB. You can't connect to it because it will be secure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So the only way you can access that is via the blockchain data.
Okay. Is there any way to do choose another database?
No. RocksDB is one of the best DB out there, and that's what Polkadot uses. So yeah. I mean, it's your choice. If you're like interesting question. So if you're like going to build your own blockchain framework and you're like you want to use something else which is much more better, then yeah, you're free to do so.
Yeah, I want Mongo or MySQL like that. So is that
Okay.
possible?
No, that is if you build your own blockchain, like you build the blockchain from scratch. This is how I want to design my blockchain. Then you're free to do so. But yeah, here they're using RocksDB as well. And also, like when it comes to Mongo and MySQL, SQL is faster, but Mongo is a key value pair, and there is a high transaction time, and I don't think it's fast enough to handle data on like secure data and stuff. I mean, it can Mongo can, but Mongo is a what you say Mongo is like a solution to basic things, and yeah, it solves, but there are a lot of DBs. There are Cassandra. RocksDB is one of the best, to be honest, and yeah, Postgres on SQL formats, and yeah, but then again, it's a choice. So so Keshav, to answer your question, it's DB as a provider, you're going to look at it as a product, what DB I want to use. But the real answer or the question that you should be asking here is, how is data stored on the blockchain? So we have a concept called Merkle tree. It's an algorithm. It's a data structure algorithm like Merkle tree, Patricia tree. Ethereum uses a combination of Merkle and Patricia tree. And similarly, even in Polkadot, we have something called as child tree. So when I say tree, it is not TREE, TRIE. Are all of you available? I mean, aware of these data structures, tree and all that?
Yes, try.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a data structure. What you should be more concerned about rather than that DB that is being used is the data structure and algorithms to do it. So the way they do it is a form of a tree. A tree is a graph, but graph is not necessarily a tree. But so the point here is each and every node. So every node that has a child from the root, right, will be the ID will be based off the root node. And these concepts, when you how you traverse to a tree and all that, again you have multiple algorithms to do that. You have depth first search and breadth first search. So these are the things I believe you guys need to be more concerned about, because this will help you like grow in terms of understanding how the blockchain DB works. Because even when I'm reading a data, if my function add two numbers, he says he's writing data into addition value dot put in line number 78, right? You know how that is happening in the backend? That is happening by a tree traversal mechanism. So the algorithm is written in such a way that when you are adding a certain value to this storage, it will traverse the tree based on a new node. So the function that will in turn be called in the tree structure will be add node, because this new data that he's putting is a new storage data that will be added onto the child tree that is being used in Polkadot. So that is a simple example of how I can give you like how deep the code is. But for you to even figure that out, it'll like these are the stuff you should really start understanding and figuring it out.
Okay, so will we be able to see? Okay, here RocksDB won't allow us, but generally, what happens on blockchain? Is it possible on other blockchain that is it possible to see the raw data, what it is written?
Yeah, you can on the Explorer, Polkadot JS Explorer, you can do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's what I'll be showing you using the chain state. All right, so I have finished compiling. I have also added the storage called addition value. Now I have started the node as well with the dev and temp tag. Some changes that I made are to the errors, like since it's greater than 50, so I'm just making this error as cannot be less than 50. And so this event was taking an I32. I just converted that to a U32, which is here. All right, and this addition value is also accepting a U32. You can make these changes also. All right, and after that you can compile. Now let's refresh. Good. If I go to my own, add two numbers. Let's pass this first. Since 100 is greater than 50 for both first and second. All right. So this means that your extrinsic passed. But now what I want to show you are the events. So as you can see, I had placed an event here. If I go to my JS and Explorer, an event has been triggered, right? So this is corresponding to the event that I wrote in my lib.rs. Yes, the number has been added, right? This is the same event that is being triggered. All right. But now one more thing is that I will show you the chain state, right? Chain state as in the storage that I had created for my own palette. Okay. So as you can see, there is only one storage palette version. You don't have to worry. It's just the version of your palette that you mentioned in your toml. So in addition value, your value has to be stored for it. It was 200. Correct. Now let's fail this. My own 20, 100. See. 1. All right, failed. So as you can see, the first number cannot be less than, it can't fit. I'm sorry for my errors, but as you can see, this extrinsic failed. So since it mentions that your first number has to be greater than 50, so and it will do the same thing for the second number as well. So yeah, that is how you integrate a local palette to your runtime. I'll also show you how to add a remote palette. All this. Has everybody completed this? Lokesh, can you check?
I was facing a problem. Like I'm running in the Docker and 9944 port is exposed to the host, but their browser is not connecting. Are you aware any common known problem?
So you're using Docker.
Yeah, in the Docker, your library I cloned and then it is running there, blocks are showing. But on the host, when I open the browser and connect on that 9944 port, I mean everything is same, but it is always initializing. It is never completing.
Oh, okay. So I think it's because of the cache that you have. Try.
Probably. Have you started with
refreshing.
the dev flag?
Pardon?
Have you started your node with the dev flag? If you can share your screen.
Yeah. Dev and team both are there. Okay. Yeah, I'm showing.
Yeah. I guess
Yeah. Are you seeing that?
Yeah. Now show me the node, the way you're starting the node.
So this port is open on the host. But then when I open this.
No, but yeah, because you're not, where have you started the chain? I want to see where you have started the chain.
In the terminal.
One moment. Yeah, it's running here.
All right.
Okay, it is finalized. Can you stop the chain and start again? I want to see the.
Is it visible?
Correct. Yeah. Now started.
Gunjan, try refreshing.
So
your
so
page.
it's 9615. Yeah, it is starting. Is it finalizing? It is finalizing. No, finalize 0. Is it finalizing? Yeah, it is. So now, Gunjan, can you go back to your Explorer?
Yeah.
And here, WS 944. Yeah, it's not connecting. Just do open your console in your browser. No, browser. Go to your browser. Do Control-Shift-I.
Control-Shift-I. Okay.
Or just right click and open inspect.
Yeah, understood. Yeah.
Okay. And go to the applications tab. No, application.
Application.
Yeah.
The last one.
Oh yeah.
And okay, memory, I guess. Firefox is memory. Go to memory. Probably memory. Okay, nothing's coming up here. Storage, go to storage. Just right click and delete everything in cache and cookies.
Okay.
And similarly in cache.
Oh, it's not right clicking, so I'm going to other.
Okay.
This is also not right clicking.
Now refresh the page.
Okay.
Okay, you have a abnormal closure. So abnormal closure, see WS endpoint 127.9944. It's connected, but you are having an abnormal closure. The node is not accepting this connection. Error target is trusted. Okay, well, can you do it on Chrome? Can you open it on Chrome?
Chrome. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Do you have a wallet installed?
No.
Okay, so that
That's
also,
okay.
yeah, that's also fine. So the error that you see, abnormal closure, is basically the chain denying you connection. The chain is not letting you connect.
Is there a way to check through the command line, like it is connecting or not?
You could have seen, like in one of the terminal messages, it would have told some node is attempting to connect with your chain, but it's nothing. It failed.
Okay.
It'll say. He's having the same issue.
Do one more thing, Gunjan. Try opening this in incognito also.
Okay.
Because incognito browsers don't hold cache.
You can close the other ones.
Okay.
The Chrome normal one you can close. So, can you go back to your terminal?
Should I minimize the browser?
Let me add. So stop the chain.
Okay.
And yeah, do an up arrow to the old command.
Pardon?
And just rewrite the old command and add another flag.
Okay.
And after dev, write space WS
Okay.
colon no, not colon, hyphen before WS hyphen.
Okay. Double or single?
I'm not sure. Just it's fine. Just add double for now. WS
Okay.
hyphen external external. Now start.
Enter.
Yeah. See that? Can you read accepting a new connection? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
See, accepting a new question, 1 out of 100.
Oh, yeah,
You
now
have
it's
100
coming.
slots. Okay, so
Oh.
so yeah, Gunjal, the issue was somehow your system is not, the system node is not letting other people connect to your network. I don't know. Do you have any firewalls or something set up? Probably.
No, it's the Docker on the host. So firewall comes all outside this.
Okay, bro. You're running it on Oracle. Okay, I
Yeah.
got it. I figured
Thank you
it.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it out. So it's because you're running it as a VM. So VMs by default, it won't be letting you do all this. So which is why you need to enable that flag. Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So because your VM will have a firewall which is protected by your native system.
Okay.
Yeah, but these are connection issues, but but you know how to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll reshare my screen. All right. So, can you all see my screen? Lokesh?
Yeah. Your screen is good.
Now, what I'll do is that I'll add another palette to my runtime. Okay. So this is not a local palette. This is a palette from Git. So there's something called the Nix palette. It's a palette where you can assign nicknames to your account, to your actual account names. For example, like Alice can have Alice sudo or something like that. So I think I have opened the link. Adding mix. Yep. You can try this as well. Chat. All right. Just go to this link and follow what I'm doing. The first thing,
can we make it interesting? Can one of you guys share your screen and we'll help you to add it on your
all
own?
right, that will be fun.
Anybody volunteering to do that? It's okay. We are here to help you out. Nobody is judging anything. We just want to make sure like you guys make it like understand everything.
Seriously, because I have also run into this like 100 times. Run into errors 100 times. So don't worry about going into errors.
Okay, probably it's cold silence. Yeah, probably we can do.
Take it. So the first thing that you have to do, go to this link. It just says add palette to runtime, and copy this link, palette nix. Okay, I think I might have done that. Go to your lib.rs, sorry, cargo terminal of your runtime. I've added this. Okay. Under dependencies, just add or paste this. Okay. And you should see palette nix version whatever, and it's pulling from the GitHub repository of branch v26. I don't know what v26 is. Just change v26 to v0.9.26. Just make it the same that you have for the other dependencies, right? Palette nix. And the second thing that you'll be doing is going down here, like we added our own palette, right? So palette nix std. Have you all done this?
No response yet.
Skandish
Okay, one
has.
person says yes.
Dhruv has also said yes. All right. Okay. So two things that you have to do under dependencies, just paste that and add it to your standard features as palette nix /standard or std. All right, and save the file. Cargo terminal. The second most important thing that you have to do is go to lib.rs. So you know, right, when you include a palette or when you create a palette, you have to make your runtime aware of your palette. How will you do that? Can anybody tell me? Just aware of your palette, not including into your runtime.
So yeah, Fazil has answered.
Okay.
So he says you need to import it.
All right.
Use a statement isn't enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
And after use, palette nix. Okay. Can you tell me after importing what I have to do? It's the same thing that I did for my local palette.
Apply the triads to take it into runtime.
Right. Right. So basically I have to make my runtime aware of my palette by implementing my configuration for Nix. But you may be thinking, where will I find that, right? So you have it here called so this is the configuration that you have present in the Nix palette. So I'll just show you. Substrate. GitHub. I'll go to that branch 0.9.26. if I go to frame, this is where I'm pulling the palette from. Okay. If I go to Nix, and inside Nix source lib, if I go to my what is the config? Yeah, so this is the configuration, right? So this is where I define all the configuration of the Nix palette, or where they have done it, sorry. And if I compare this with this link, you can see type, currency, and everything. Okay, but I need to implement, or I need to add all the values for these configurations. Correct? That's what I did with the local palette as well. So just copy this implement palette. Sorry, not balances. Sorry, not balances. Implement palette Nix. Just copy this and paste it here. Okay, palette Nix config. The same thing that I did for palette my own. You can give styling. All right. I hope everyone has done this. Now, all right. Now I have implemented palette Nix config for runtime. Now the runtime knows that palette Nix has a configuration that it needs to be aware of. But still, it hasn't been added to runtime. Can anybody tell me like how to do that?
Adding TOML.
Adding to?
Cargo TOML environment.
Right, but that I have done. That's the first thing that you have to do.
Okay, that is not.
Right. Whenever you create a palette or whenever you're importing a palette, you have the first thing that you have to do is go to cargo.toml and add it there. But to bring it into scope, that is a different thing altogether. Like you said, right?
Construct runtime. Construct runtime.
Right.
Construct runtime.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe Skandesh and Gunjan, everybody who got it right is correct. You add it into construct runtime.
So palette Nix. Now it is part of my runtime. Now when I say this, whenever you make any kind of changes, you have to build it again. So palette Nix also has its own storage where it will store some, where it will store the nickname for my my account. So yeah, if you see here, this is the storage of palette Nix. If you compare this with the storage that I created for addition value, you can find a find a similarity. But the difference here is that I use storage value, which stores only one value, like an integer or a vector of bytes or whatever. But here it's storage map. So storage map is basically taking two things. One is the key, which is account ID, and one is the value, which is, I believe this is a tuple of two things. One is the bounded vector and one is balance. So this is what it's storing. So account ID will have my account encoded ID, and this is where I'll be storing my balance. Sorry, not balance. The nickname of the account ID. This might take a few minutes, I guess. I hope everyone is building. All right.
Yeah.
So I finished building with my remote palette, which is Nix. Target, release, node template. Okay, so why node template? This can be anything. If I go to my file and go to my cargo.toml, you see node template. Where was that?
In node.
Oh yeah, sorry. Node, right? Cargo terminal. Yeah. So if I change this node template to something else,
Under binary, line 17.
In binary.
Yeah,
right.
correct. Right.
So if I change this to something else, then you can you have to type the same name, right? So that's why node template at the moment. So basically, you can name your runtime anything you want. Template W's.
So you guys can see accepting new connection 2 out of 100. 2 people are connected to that chain. So you have 100 slots for every chain by default. And yeah, at the moment there are 2 people who have connected, and you can even know who are the ones who are connected.
Right. So right. Now if I go to Explorer, sorry, extrinsics under developer, is the same thing again, but for the remote palette. If I go to Nix, so these are the 4 extrinsics that are created in the Nix palette. As you can see, if I go under palette call, you can see set name, you can see clear name, you can see kill name, and you can see force name. All right. So those are the exact same things that you are seeing here. So first thing, I'll only show you one function, which is set name. So Alice can have, let's say, new and maybe improved Alice. So this is the nickname for Alice. You can give it anything you want. If I sign and submit, it's the same thing again. Cool. So this is how you add a remote palette to your runtime, like you have done for your local palette. And okay, I'll show you chain state as well. Palette mix. It's only one. Right. So this is the account ID, and if you remember, this is the tuple. This is your key, and new and improve Alice, and 100 is your balance. Right. So this is your name or nickname for your Alice account, which is this. All right. So I think that is it. Anything else that I'm missing, Lokesh?
I think we're good enough. There are a little bit confusion of the number 100 here. Fazil, it's not 100 wallets. It is not at all 100 wallets. Wallets has nothing to do with the number 100. It's the number of nodes that can connect to your chain. So that is the thing. I hope that is not a confusion anymore. Yeah, and yeah, I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, seeing the raw data part, like what you are showing is on the browser, which is decoded format. But how does the raw data look on the storage in the file system? Like, can we see?
On the so the only way you can access the storage is via this chain state, and this is how it will be stored there also. But since we are not encoding or hashing this, it's not going to be encoded or hashed. But there are functions where we encode or hash using algorithms, for example, Blake 250 or SHA or 2.6 algorithm or anything. So that hash will be stored. Everything will look like a hash for you, and the output is similar like this.
So this is your data on your storage, which you can manipulate as you want.
So, Jibril, what I mean by wallets, so see, wallets is an entirely different concept. Wallet is your extension where you try to create an account ID. Okay, that has nothing to do you being a participant. That wallet is the first and foremost thing required for you to be to have an account on the blockchain. Okay, what do you mean by the 100 people who can connect to? It's basically at the moment as another, say right now when Tejas was running his chain at the local, he is running it as a relay chain, which means there can be 100 other peers who can be connected to his chain. It's a P2P network, right? It's a decentralized P2P network. So the 100 refers to the number of peers who can connect to the chain. Jibril, is that clear? Like Jibril, Fazil, I'm you, and all of you guys who are asking the question? Or is it still not clear?
All right, I can show you by creating an account, let's say. Okay. So I have my wallet extension right here. It's called TJ Stash, and this is the public ID for that wallet. So let's create a new account. So after pressing on creation, the first thing that you see is your mnemonic. So you have to save this mnemonic, and for recreation of your wallet, let's say if you get a new laptop, if you're installing the extension on another browser, you have to recreate your wallet or your ID in that browser, right? So that's why you have to save this somewhere safe, not on your local machine, or just write it down in your book. So that is way safer. All right. So after I accept that, just descriptive name, there's some name, just not very creative. Password, let's say Tejas. Right. Add the account with the generated seed. All right. Now, as you can see, I have another account in my wallet. So your wallet can have multiple accounts. Okay. So if I go to Polkadot extension, what was that? Yeah. I go to accounts. Is there any chain? Account. How do I sign the extrinsic here? Can I add this location?
Sorry, what are we trying to add? I'm sorry.
So I'm trying to add some name to my Explorer.
You just need a refresh. It's already coming.
No, because I
didn't
remember I had to inject it specifically for this.
Just scroll down. It's not scrollable.
No, there are only these many accounts.
Okay. Just go to your Polkadot Explorer, wallet extension. No, wallet extension. And here, some name and TJ Stash. Both are not coming. Allow and any chain, right? You've used allow on any chain.
Yep.
Okay. And it should automatically come.
Okay. Oh, sorry. It's something. I think it's something related to my cache. It's not related to the wallet. I think it's because of my browser.
Should have come.
Okay. All right. One more thing I can show you. So because of the Nix palette, Alice is no more Alice. You can see new and improved Alice right here, right? So okay, so that's what the Nix palette does. I'm not sure why. Let me restart. Not sure. It's mostly is because of something wrong with the cache system. That's what I'm facing actually.
No, I believe something wrong with the. Can you start and stop your chain again? Like stop and start your chain again.
Okay. I have my talisman.
Can you
all
try
ready.
this injected one, disconnecting it first and then connect again so that it can take both the accounts?
The DJ stash is not coming from your
This
Polkadot
is from
Explorer.
my
It's coming from
talisman.
Talisman wallet.
That's a different wallet altogether.
Just refresh your page. Okay. Also, Tejas, Dhruv was asking, will you be uploading the code to GitHub now
Yeah, sure,
later?
sure. I'll do that.
Yeah, Dhruv, Tejas will share the link.
Sure, thanks.
And okay, so ideally, guys, just you connecting, adding an account to wallet and connecting to the thing, you should be able to see your account here. This is the first time we are ever seeing this error. I don't know what exactly it is. Probably. Well, can you try clearing all the cache in session? There's probably that.
Mm.
Is it possible to disconnect an account which is injected already?
Not exactly. Like if you have allowed, like you saw the option where you saw allow or use on any chain, right? There, if you specify which chain you want to, that's how you will connect and reconnect, not connect and stuff. So that's where
But
you
here
will
it is
manage
showing
it there.
injected. So here it is showing
Injected is
How here
basically
can
the
we
term injected is used to identify that this account is from a wallet provider. So Talisman is another wallet provider that lets you, create accounts that can be accessed by Polkadot chains.
So there are only two wallets which can be connected on Polkadot.
There are multiple, but there are multiple in development. The official ones is Polkadot JS wallet. Talisman is another upcoming one that has been open sourced for their team to develop to store NFTs. So Talisman is trying to bring in the functionality where you, when you purchase an NFT, that NFT will reflect in your wallet itself. So yeah, now it's coming. They you did something, but I don't know what you did, but it came.
I know. I have faced this before. So it's something
Okay.
related to my cache. Something wrong with my browser, I guess. But yeah. So as you can see, you have someone also added to your chain, right? So if I create another, yeah, Fahad.
Yeah, just a quick question to what you just mentioned. So to Talisman, so NFTs, Polkadot.js wallet does not support the use of NFT at the moment, right?
Not like use of NFTs. So remember, like the functionality is like for you to view the NFTs and whatever you own in the wallet itself. That the Polkadot JS wallet doesn't support yet. But
Okay.
Talisman is working on that feature.
Okay, thanks.
Right. So this is how you create your accounts. But with these accounts, what you can do is you can even go to, let's say, Polkadot, any parachain. Let's say we have Parity, which you can, transact with your wallet on any of these accounts that are there in under Polkadot. Okay, so as you can see, you can only, there are only 3 accounts mentioned here. There is no Alice, there is no Bob, because that was completely under development, and this is on the real node that is running, or the real chain that is running. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, one more thing I was wondering, like no async await kind of thing we have seen so far. Is that upcoming or not there at all?
So async and await is like basically it's a syntax for you for futures, right? On Substrate, we don't deal with futures a lot because those are expected things. But there is something called as off-chain workers where you will you have oracles and stuff. Yeah, but that is a little bit more advanced topic. So yeah, but async and await, simple async and await in Rust is basic. It's Rust has added the async and await syntax as a sugar syntax, so you can use async and await, and while writing API servers, you can use it. It's pretty simple. So the same code base that I had shared yesterday in the Q&A session, I have written codes for using async and await. So in case if you're looking for it.
Oh, then how do we achieve parallel processing here?
So in blockchain, you don't really use processing a lot. And so again, when it comes to parallel processing, yeah, there's a difference between parallel computing and concurrent computing. So parallel programming is async and await, and concurrent programming is using threads. And blockchain doesn't use that. At the moment, at least on Substrate, we are not doing so much of work into that. But when it comes to building oracles and off-chain workers and stuff that you want to keep in this one, there we will use it. And those programming concepts itself are a bit different. Probably once we are clear with basic Rust, and once you have a good hanging of Rust, and then you can get into two different types. One is parallel programming, which uses like futures basically. Futures is the technology that for that, which is async and Tokyo, like async std and Tokyo. Async std provides the runtime for such parallel programming concepts. And the other one is called concurrent programming. Concurrent programming is basically when you try to use threads to manage your work. So you will create a new thread, you will assign the function to run on that thread, and you will write multiple threads. So those are the things. But yeah, we don't deal with that at the moment, at least. That's kind of out of scope for the current bootcamp as well.
Okay.
And it's more into the advanced topics. So yeah. Most of your applications don't really need that, at least on blockchain. But when it comes to writing web servers and APIs, parallel computing is yes, and yeah, that is base of what you need. And
No,
yeah,
just thought because you are communicating with so many peers, and what if one peer is not responding and your code is blocked? So
so
that kind
no,
of
so
thought
there is
maybe.
not a lot of peer communication, as in like there's only read level access. That's what I told you, right? No peer is going to change data on your main chain. I mean, all that happens as an extrinsic. An extrinsic runs on these macros, and they use Tokyo. Tokyo is the package that provides the runtime for async in on Rust. This you can probably just show Tokyo on crates.io.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so the internal framework or the infrastructure is built using all these. So for those of you who are very curious on these kind of stuff, it is very important for you guys to understand these logic. And obviously, this is more into the software engineering aspect of how software is built on, how does parallel programming is built. So if you see, it's a runtime for writing reliable asynchronous and slim applications with Rust. So anything on Rust, if you see basic, will involve Tokyo. Without Tokyo, you don't have a runtime. So the base runtime is main.rs, right? Main function in Rust. That is a single threaded operation. But for all your async operations, you will need to use Tokyo, and Tokyo provides your async runtime for that. Is that clear? Or you want
Yeah,
some more thing?
got it.
This is kind of off
Fair
topic.
enough.
It's not really blockchain, but
Yeah.
if you want more on this, there is a lot of code we have written and a lot of things that are there. So we can just share. I mean, it's there in yesterday's GitHub link, so you can probably refer that. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And Nicholas, well, yes, better start by beginning and not jumping something. Yeah, exactly, Nicholas. So because both parallel and concurrent programming have two different approaches to start coding itself, and it gets complex. And you don't want to start diving into that if you've not got a good hand of the basics.
Yes, sure. Just wanted to
But
have high level understanding that out of.
hi, yeah, Gujan, yeah, that's a good question. So, see, I'm not talking to, I'm only talking to those people who are beginning on Rust. So, those who have, like, for example, you're aware of all these things, you must have coded on these things. So, it is well known, well and good for you to ask and know how all these are done. And Fahad, yeah, you can tell us what is it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt in between, but yeah, my question basically, you mentioned something about Oracle. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Polkadot, you can connect oracles as well, right? So using the same substrate palettes, you can connect to an external Oracle, get the data, and do something with it.
Yeah, you have that functionality as well, and also Polkadot has its own Oracle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so you can read more about all of these. For those of you guys wanting to know on this, it's very interesting that I'm getting these questions on wiki.polkadot.network, and I'll just give it to you as the basic thing. So I'll just paste the link here, and a lot about all of these things that you're asking, oracles and everything is given in this thing. So the main link for it is polkadot.network, and once you log into that, you go to the learn section, and there you will start learning about the child tree that I told you, the oracles that you've been asking me, off-chain workers, all those things, how it works. So oracles are basically people who are there. I mean, it's not people, it's a library that lets you know what is going to come up in the future, right? For a certain operation, how will it impact the future? So the oracle knows at certain block number, this operation is what is going to be executed, for example. So those things. And Polkadot has its own oracle, and using off-chain workers, you can communicate to external clients or services.
Right. Just one thing on mind is around that we're obviously writing custom code in using Rust in Substrate framework. So at some point in time, then we start writing Inc. smart contracts as well. So that's different to what we're doing right now. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So the concept of smart contracts is different from what you develop on Substrate. Substrate, you build a blockchain.
Okay.
So those people who are willing to build their blockchain on their own with their own core libraries and stuff, that is when you would use Substrate. And when you just want to build a smart contract, just talks to us existing chain, you just build it on Inc, or you can use Ethereum smart contracts or whatever, right? That's exactly how it is.
So the usual process building dApps, Polkadot is create a substrate node, customize it based on your business logic, whatever you want to do in terms of palettes.
Yeah.
And then you write a smart contract either Ethereum or using Ink. And then you get a dApp on top of that, yeah?
Sorry, was it just me, or was everyone not able to hear him in the center?
We lost you.
Yeah, Fahad, we kind of lost you in between.
Yeah, sorry, my connection is slow. The usual process of people building a dApp is that they create a node, a substrate node, or let's multiple substrate nodes. Then they write custom logic using palettes. That's again at the core blockchain level. After that, people write smart contracts using, let's say, Solidity or Ink. And then create a dApp using React, something on top of it. So that's kind of how the stack goes, yeah?
It's one way of doing it, not necessarily that is the way of you need to do it. On Substrate, you can build it everything as a palette. So you just build your library as a palette and add it to any node that you want. So that will serve your smart contract purpose as well. So smart contracts, see, the problem with smart contract is it's limited. You can't do a lot of operations, but when it comes to Substrate building palettes, you are not limited to things like talking to another palette, talking to another smart contract, talking to oracles, or talking to off-chain workers, or building custom governance logic. Building custom governance logic will require you to write multiple smart contracts, right? And those kind of things become hard on while building smart contracts. So yeah, it is an approach basically on how you want to take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, one suggestion I want to put here, like, can we see the roadmap of what are you going to deliver so that we don't ask irrelevant question right now? We will know something is coming ahead, so we can ask that time.
Sure. Probably it's there in
Also,
your, yeah.
also, sorry to interrupt. It's 6:20, so maybe we can take one last question and call it a wrap.
Cool. So yeah, Gunjan, so if you have opened the ss.substrate Saturday website, right?
Okay.
Can anybody share a link with me?
Yeah, we'll share it.
Yeah, so once you open this link and you scroll down to the curriculum page, you have on each session what is going to be covered.
Okay.
Right? That will give you an idea of what it is.
Fine, I will explore it. Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, and anything else? So regarding the assignment, we can give them Substrate kitties, right? you can start off with, so what we are going to do for the next session is, so as of now we have covered topics for you to build your own palettes, right? So what we want to you to do next part is going to be like, I'm going to share this link with you guys. So let me just share my screen quickly. Just let me know if it's visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
visible.
I will share this link. So there's something called Substrate Kitties. This is the scope for the next bootcamp as a workshop where we will build this live for you guys. But also I want you guys to do two things once. First, basics, cover basics. How do you add a palette to runtime, and how you even start writing a new palette, right? You can figure like configuring the runtime constants, the implementing the config for runtime, and those things. Get a hang of that, like how Tejas had showed. So get these basics done. And the next part is, I want you guys to attempt to cover only part 1 of Substrate Kitties. So part 2 we are not very worried about, because there's a front end and stuff. We will do it in the last workshop, but we are not going to show you like how to code it and stuff. It's not because it's front end stuff, but we are only focused on the part 1. I want all of you to try to attempt to complete part 1. And even if you don't understand, it's kind of okay, but try to make an understanding, because in the workshop, we will try to run you through every line of code, what is happening and what is not happening. So yeah, so just finish off basics of these palettes and some basic tutorials. I will also share the links to the basic tutorials so that you guys can follow it up. So yeah, this is this one, and some basic tutorials are here, substrate.dev, and you come to developers and yeah. It's not loading. So yeah. So yeah, once you come here, so this is Gunjan, to ask your, to solve your question, how do you connect to a network, build a local junction, simulate a network. Simulate a network is the part that will answer your question, and
Okay.
and more on that. So you can read a little bit about basics on how. I believe blockchain basics was already asked for you guys to cover, but what I want you guys to basically finish is. Okay, this is kind of weird, but okay, they're constantly changing the website. No, updating the website. So yeah, once you come here, you have this tutorial section, right? So you have get started, work with palettes, develop smart contracts. So we are not going to do smart contracts. That is ink. Connect with other chains. So this will answer your question. And integrate with tools. That's fine. But I just want you guys to finish off this part. Get started and work with palettes. So these are the things that at least you need to. So this part, it's a must. You guys need to finish all of this. Work with palettes. Kitties is something I want you guys to give it a try and attempt and try to figure out what it is. But in the workshop, we'll deal with it in detail. So yeah, that's it from our end, guys. Tejas, you have something to say?
Yeah, no, I'm hosting the code on GitHub and will be sharing.
Cool. And yeah, anything else? Anybody wants to ask anything before we conclude?
I was just thinking about this, like what if I want to make a kind of a logging mechanism where whatever I do, that thing needs to be stored on the chain, so then it can be traced back.
And that
But
is the blockchain. Basically, your distributed blockchain is a distributed ledger. Every transaction that you make will be stored. So if you go to the block explorer and you put a block number, you'll always know what was done in that block number. Like for example, you transferred money from you to another peer or friend. That data, that transaction will be stored. Say you added, Tejas did add 2 numbers. So you added 2 numbers in certain block number. So that block number you insert, you will know that this operation was done. So already
No,
part
I
of
was
the
just
chain.
saying that I want to do a couple of transactions, but I don't want to sign every time. Like
No, you can't.
span
You
of
have
like,
to sign every time. You can't avoid that.
isn't there a workaround for that? Because if I'm just for suppose I'm playing a game or something like a chess or something,
Mhm.
if I'm signing it for every move, that doesn't make sense. Like
So yeah, that's a very interesting question. I
Mhm.
really like the approach of how you ask. So that depends on how you build your application. So that approach is not on Substrate kind of thing, but it's on how you kind of build. And that is like what the world is trying to solve. A lot of applications out there don't necessarily need you to sign every time, but at one bulk time, they'd make a lot of signs. So yeah, that is there. And there's more of system architecture and design, how you architect your application.
how would this work? What if we just generate a private key
Mhm.
and then transfer the transaction fees all at once? Like, for example, if I'm on Solana, I just transfer a little bit of Sol,
Mhm.
and then for the 1 minute or 2 minutes, it will just keep doing the transaction and then get expired after a minute or two.
But how will you know that what is the total transaction fee that
We'll
you
just
need?
take something and then after the minute we'll refund it back.
So Dhruv, there's another concept of unsigned transactions, which is not really safe, but unsigned transactions will let you try to do that, but it's not what you say practical solution to do that. So because whenever you're dealing with your private key, you don't want to give anybody access to your private key. Anybody who has an access to your private key will hack your account.
No, I'm saying that we'll generate a new private key, temporary one, and then
Yeah.
we'll discard it after a minute, after a game finishes or something like that.
But this is again a security breach, right? I will hold your private key. I'm the one who's going to create a private key for you, and I will have the private key. So it will completely depend on you need to trust me that okay, I will not do anything with your account and funds. Is that a security risk you want to take?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, but then
Yeah, exactly. So that is a security breach. But there are different ways and approaches to solve this. People are already doing this on Play 2 on concepts of blockchain. Even on Polkadot, we have a lot of games there that are being developed, and yeah, there are approaches that you can use to solve these things.
okay, yeah,
The
thank you.
answer is yes, you can do it, but how is something that depends on the architect of the code. So it comes on how you start, how you want to think about your application. I understand that you don't want to bother users to every time sign a transaction, right? You just want to sit and play, enjoy the game. So there are different multiple approaches to do that, and those are more on the architect side of how you want to develop the game. So maybe something that I can give you is probably you connect your account and you are connected to a chain, but it won't be completely decentralized. There can be a centralized manner approach as well, where you are making transactions, but only at the end of your game, you will sign those on the blockchain. The step where you need to sign on the blockchain can never be avoided, be it on any blockchain. But how you want to solve that problem, there are multiple ways on how you can do that.
Yeah, so if I want to build a custom chain, like
Hmm.
it's uses this approach or something, I
Mhm.
can build it on Substrate. No, there are no boundaries for that, right?
Yeah, there are no boundaries. You can do that.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can Oracle be built on Substrate?
Substrate is already built, has a Oracle, but yeah, you can. Oracle is just business logic of what you want to do, so you can do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. So guys, I think it's almost 6:30 and it's time to wrap up the session. So we have come to the end, and before we close the session, I think we would totally love to hear what you guys think about today's session. So please drop your feedback in the chat box. And I think you guys are pretty clear about what your assignment for the session is. So we'll also go ahead and share a document on Discord. So, and also as per public demand, we have also decided to continue the Q&A session for you guys. Asit, could you please share the link in the chat box? And this will be happening on 12th of August. So yeah, so we'll see you guys in the next session of Substrate Saturday Bootcamp with your trainers and mentors, Lokis and Tejas, and do not miss the Q&A session. Thank you all for joining in. This was definitely a very interactive session. Yeah. Thank you, Tejas. Thank you, Lokesh. Yeah.
Thank
See
you,
you all
Bhavya.
soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys. You're welcome, super.